This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the preacher man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the preacher man.
Welcome today to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, and my co-host who joined a little later on in the program, Shanan E. Jones. Well, today, we had a great session with clergy, and you've heard us talking about public safety and clergy. And we had a great roundtable discussion, and we'll be showing bits and clips of that today in our program. And we're talking about how we as clergy can come together with the public safety and bring it back together where it was church, home, church, school, community, and the value system that our community so lack and need. And we, men and women of faith, along with those that are in law enforcement, those that are in education, that we need to come back together to work together to deal with the ills of our society. Yes, it's a new day and new time, and things are differently, and things are certainly changing. We're dealing with more social media, more technology, and these things that are taking place now in our society. But we want to talk about how can we, the clergy, men and women called by God, come together with those that are in public safety to deal with the issues of mental illness, to deal with gun violence, and to deal with how we deal with economic development and creativity for our young people, our youth. So we'll be back on the other side. We won't have Miss C today. We'll be back on the other side with bits and pieces of our today's program of public safety forum with clergy. We'll be back on the other side with that. But before we come to that, we had Probate Judge Kenya Johnson that came to talk to the clergy about having endowment for your members and how your member can leave a legacy to the church, so the church will still have the finances to keep the church doors open. So we're going to start off with our probate judge of Fulton County, Kenya Johnson, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so very, very much. I can't get loud. But listen, thank you all so much for coming to be a part of this clergy public safety forum. We're glad to have the city managers here along with the police chief. We're glad that we have some elected officials here, because we're going to have some real serious dialogue about what's going on in the community and how we as clergy can work with public safety to help eradicate a lot of crimes and ills that we're seeing in our community. Amen? Amen. So today we have with us, I invited Solicitor Keith Gammons to be here with us, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. But Solicitor Gammons is doing great work and has been doing great work in terms of restorative justice program to help young people, individuals that have committed misdemeanors, to restrict their records. Yeah. And they'll be able to get their job. Amen? Amen. And a place to live. So let's give Solicitor Gammons a hand. The young lady that I'm going to bring up now, who is our probate judge, who was a part of getting that program started when she was in the solicitor's office to make sure that we had opportunities for people to get their records restricted, is our judge, probate judge, Kenya Johnson, who's here to talk to us about how we can have endowments in our church for members who have gone on and how they can leave well. Come on, Judge Johnson. Give her a hand with you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And so as it relates relates to record expungement, that's an opportunity that an offender can apply through the Solicitor General's office to get non-violent arrests taken away from their record. So I encourage you, if you have someone that is in need of a second chance or committed an offense when they were younger, a non-violent offense, then this offers an opportunity for better jobs and for housing. So you can reach out to the Solicitor General's office to find out more information about it. And those are for offenses that occur in Fulton County. However, other progressive prosecutors have similar programs, and so if they have offenses outside of Fulton County, they can reach out to that prosecutor. What I am here to talk to you about as the probate judge is leaving a legacy. What we see in probate is when people pass away, they may not have a will. And that leaves the house, you know, the house that you've been paying a mortgage for 30 years, that leaves your family to decide what to do with your belongings. And so I see everyday families struggling with that because if mama promised somebody the house, but she didn't put it in writing, it didn't happen. Or the last caretaker maybe was promised something. And so estate planning is something important for us as a community to engage in so we can keep the work that we've done, the hard-earned things that we have amassed in our lifetime. And it's a way for you to express your wishes so that when you pass away, your family can have a mission in fulfilling your wishes. Instead of knowing whether daddy wants to be buried or cremated, having all of these questions. And I admit it's a difficult conversation about your plans for your items when you pass away, but it's a necessary conversation. And I promise you that other communities that are more focused on wealth building are having these conversations. And so with that being said, Probate Court would like to introduce a program to our faith-based community. What I realize is that just like with our HBCUs, churches need community support and the support of their members. And so many of you all may have a life insurance policy, right? And you've left it to your family. Well, what we're starting is a 5% program. We're asking that you can leave 95% to your family. They get the bulk of your estate, but leave 5% to the church.
Yes, Lord.
Okay, change your beneficiaries on your life insurance to leave just 5% to the church. And by doing this, for those participating churches, we would ask that you create some sort of donor wall. Everybody likes to see their name in lights, right? And if they show proof to the church that they changed their beneficiary on their job to leave 5% to the church, then they need to be on this donor wall. And let's begin to make it a conversation. So Probate Court is willing for any churches that want to begin to launch this initiative. We will do the ask. So it's not the lead clergy asking for money, it's us talking about, by the way, you should engage in estate planning, and while you're doing that, consider the organizations that you love. We're launching it with the churches. Next, we're going to the HBCUs. Next, we're going to other organizations that need support. And so for those that may be interested in inviting Probate Court, either a 2-minute announcement, a video, or some other forum to introduce it to clergy members, we're willing to partner with the faith-based community to leave those legacies, to further empower us, and to send a message that the members want to support their churches even when they're no longer here. Okay? So I'll be sitting over here taking information, giving information, something for you all to think about, and this is another way that Probate Court is in the community trying to help those organizations that support the community. Thank you all.
Well, I tell you, thank you, Judge Johnson. Thank you for the information. It's much needed in terms of will planning and estate planning, and many people don't do that. And your willingness to go out to talk to churches and organizations and to ask members to leave an endowment with their churches. 5% of their insurance policy go to the church. They help the church to sustain during those times. And a lot of pastors, and I did this myself, Shanan, I did this. I took out a policy that I left to the church. So when something happened to me, then the next pastor that take it over would not have to have the challenge of trying to keep the church financially stable, because usually when pastors die or leave, or what have you, the church has a problem in terms of being financially sustainable because a lot of members do leave. Sadly enough, people are there, many people are there for the pastor. They're not there for the ministry in total. So I did that. And I know a lot of other pastors have done that too. And so we're asking to, and if you're a pastor, if you have a church and you want Judge Johnson to come out or staff to talk about will, estate planning, and endowment, she's more than willing to do it. You can get in touch with us or you can call her office. And she's the probate judge of Fulton County. Her name is Kenya Johnson. If you want more information about it, you can see Shanan or myself, and we'll get your information and make sure they get out to your church, your mosque, your synagogue, or wherever you'd like for her to come. She'd love to be able to do that. Shanan, great forum today with public safety and clergy and public safety, And I want to thank the chiefs for coming and the city managers for coming. For the city of Union City, city manager was there. East Point city manager was there. The police chief was there. Both police chief was there. And Chief Meadows from South Fulton, along with Councilwoman Helen Willis. And then we had the sheriff of Fulton County, High Sheriff of Fulton County, Patrick Labat, who was there. So there was much discussion, Shanan, as you know, as we planned this forum to try to bring the clergy together, the clergy as a whole, not just, see, we're subdivided, right? And the issue is bigger than any one clergy group, it's bigger than one organization. The things that we're experiencing now is bigger than any one entity can wrestle. So we must come together and work together to try to deal with the problems of this society that's going on today. And of course we address, and there was a question asked, Senator, I'll let you chime in just a minute. I say there was a question asked, and you'll hear it a little later on by Minister Muhammad, who was asking the question, who asked the question about the Cop City and what it all entail with Cop City. And I immediately stopped and said, hold. We have to change the narrative. It's not Cop City. It's a training center to train officers how to do their job more effectively. And you'll hear that dialogue. You'll hear from the police officer, the police chief, that they're talking about and discuss about how this training is important. I think Chief Jones said it best when she said the young lady from Emory, Shannon, you recall, she said, young lady from Emory was on TV talking about, it's Cop City, they gonna do this, they gonna do that. She said, but it's ironic that this young lady going to Emory, who's going to school to be trained to be somebody or some professional, right? That she can't see that the people who do law enforcement, they need to be trained how to do their job too. So this facility is to train officers how to better serve the community. Shannon, I'm turning it over to you.
Well, I just first and foremost want to say thank you, Bishop, and so glad that to be on tonight. I want to just say to the deacons of Liberty International Church, Door of Hope Ministries, that the policy that the bishop has taken out, he got to go of natural causes. I know y'all got a capital campaign going. But the Lord got to take them. You can't send it. Okay. All right. Just want to say that they got investigated.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
I just wanted to say that. All right. Now, yes, sir. We certainly just had a wonderful meeting today. But yeah, there's a great deal of well, let me just say this: great meeting, an important meeting. Because the beautiful thing about a bridge is that once you build a bridge, you got to maintain it, right, Bishop? And so we are as leaders, faith leaders, we are meeting with leaders from all over, political leaders, clergy leaders, educational leaders, and business leaders, to make sure that we're building the kind of bridges that allow us to have a kind of de facto united front, so that when something needs to happen, we don't have to see how we're going to swim across or how we're going to get across. When you have a bridge that's built and confusion comes in, like the confusion around the training center there's a bridge that we can cross back and forth to have two-way conversations and to bring clarity where clarity needs to be. But when there's no bridge and no understanding, see, when that bridge is there, it gets us under. When there's no understanding of one another, then fear and all kinds of things can creep up. I once flew on a plane, Bishop, and I was sitting next to, excuse me, a pilot who was deadheaded back home, and the plane was doing all kind of stuff. And I said, you know, you've been flying a long time. I said, so you're pretty comfortable with all the things. And he began to tell me why it was a good thing that the plane was feeling turbulence. Meant that the plane is working, that if we didn't feel anything but the plane being in a dive, he said that would be another set of problems. So you want to feel the turbulence because that's the plane going against the winds and whatever is happening there. But he began to help me to understand aviation. And as I talked to him for about 2.5 hours, literally, about aviation and all kinds of things and training that pilots go into and how they have to take a plane up and cut all the engines off and let it dive down, I began to lose my discomfort of flying. I've been flying my whole life since a baby, but I still didn't always like storms and turbulence. And he helped me to understand. And by the time I got there, you know, the turbulence and things didn't bother me. Why? Because we built a bridge, and we went back and forth across that bridge. And he allowed me to understand the thing that I didn't understand. Because I didn't understand it, I could fear it and even hate it and dislike it. And that's not the case now. Katya tell you, I get on the plane, I'm knocked out, I'm gone. But the bridge was important. There's a lot of ignorance around this proposed training center even with the language, the chosen language of Cop City, which connects to a language of defund, which defund never meant what defund said it meant, but it was there to strike and to cause the kind of controversy and the kind of conversation that it sparked. But there's a kind of, there's something behind this that we really need to discuss, and I really believe that there's an anti-government, anti-personal property bent that is behind this, and you know, it doesn't matter where they would put this facility, Bishop. If they put it in hell, like I said today in the meeting, folks would say there's a historic fire pit that's been down there for at least 10,000 years, and if you put it there, you're gonna put out the devil's fire pit. Doesn't matter where, when someone is anti something. But anyway, I want us to kind of dialogue back and forth on this. So I'm gonna be quiet and listen. All right, Bishop, are you there?
I said you'll hear the back and forth. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we'll have the back and forth. We'll have the back and forth. We'll finish with a clip of the back and forth that you just talked about. That's going on between the question asked. You'll have my response. You'll have a response from the different entities, the police chiefs, and their response. And you'll also hear conversation. You'll also hear conversation, Shannon. You'll also hear conversation around what we believe that can help in what's going on with the training center that can spark what's needed in terms of this facility that's being built, or the space that's being built, that where we can take that space that's being built, the space that's being built, we can do away and create another complex that will house people who are incarcerated, but they have mental illness, but they have people who are professionals who know how to deal with mentally disturbed inmates versus having them locked up in a
jail cell and not having the right kind of treatment or care, because we can build another complex on that same facility to accommodate this. I think it's 300 some acres. 300 some acres, that's a lot of acres. That we can build another whole complex to deal with the issues that law enforcement face with. We're going to be talking about that, and you'll see it in just a minute once I bring it up with my good friend Shanan E. Jones. Shanan?
Come on.
Thank you. I just like to ask, in the news we hear a lot about the up and coming Cop City. And I don't have a good understanding of, what that whole development is about. Can you all explain to us what Cop City is?
Hold on for a minute. We'll stop right now. Stop right now. It's not Cop City, it's a training center. We got to stop calling it what it's not. It is a training facility. When you speak those words like that, then that's what it becomes. It is a training facility. That's what the narrative they want to make it. But it's a training, ask about the training facility. That's what we don't talk about. It's the training facility.
Okay, but that's great, because I said Cop City because that's all you see in the news. So if it's a training facility, can you all educate us on the training facility, how it's going to help you all do the things that you just got to talking about here today, to give us an opportunity to come in and help you to do the conflict resolution? Can we be a part of what you're doing at the training center as far as the faith community is concerned? So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And as an addendum, but is Sheriff still here? He left. As an addendum to that, because I understand that with that 300 and some odd acres out there, there is an opportunity for them to build a facility out there for people who have mental conditions. They can be housed out there with people who are trained to deal with people with mental conditions. This is what we want to be on. We want to be on the fact that we want to make sure that they have a facility built out there on that complex that's going to deal with people with mental illness. As opposed to housing in jail. Come on, Pastor Brown.
And the reason why Bishop Fann mentioned the sheriff, that's one of the things that he is talking about when he has the opportunity to create that complex, is to have a facility on site that will minister to the needs of those persons who are mentally challenged. And in our private time of meeting, we said we need to push that narrative for the city of Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
Maybe if they put that on the agenda,
yes, sir,
then it will be at ease for all of us.
Yes, sir. Right. And that's why we need to, and that's why I want to say it, is that we need to call it what it is. It's a training center.
Well, is there a way we can get like a media effort going to get that out there? Because that's all they say, Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 11.
I'm going to let them address that.
Okay.
But we preach. We don't care what 2 saying. We don't care what 5 saying. We don't care what 11 saying. What we saying is a training facility. And we want on that facility a complex to deal with people with what? Mental illness. Thank you so very much.
So that training facility that you're referring to specifically belongs to the city of Atlanta. It won't benefit South Fulton in the slightest bit. But one of the narratives that I've heard out there, they're saying that they have a bomb range out there. Well, what are they planning to do? Bomb our community? At the city of Atlanta, having been retired from there, has a bomb squad. So if someone plants a bomb anywhere in the city, they train on how to defuse that bomb. Right? And so the narrative that's out there is that Atlanta is preparing to bomb certain communities. Well, we all know that's not true. And so we're all fighting for training space. We have the training facility.
We really have to have a godly conversation, a theological conversation, but a praxis, a theory and practical conversation that is pragmatic around this issue. And around how we move forward in terms of engaging community and engaging with law enforcement and engaging first responders. There's a problem in society, and I'm done. When we say that our law enforcement, and I'm trying to get young men into law enforcement, I got young men that just joined the fire department. I'm trying to get them into jobs. It's a problem when we say we don't need a place for the officers to train.
Right.
But Flowery Branch,
Come on now.
Flowery Branch needs to have more and greater cutting edge training facility type things for a losing football team.
Come on now, wear it out.
So I think in this conversation we have to be real. And as I give Bishop Fann the mic back, I believe that God is giving us an opportunity in this, and I'm done,
Yes, sir.
to have some oversight over these people. To be able to look at everything from how they recruit officers to how they deploy them.
That part. Yes, sir.
We have an opportunity to be in the conversation with this. That's what we need to be fighting on. Instead of talking about abolishing police and abolishing first responders, we don't want fire department. We don't want police. But we want the Falcons.
Come on.
All right, Shanan. All right. I tell you, I mean, this conversation, and as we move the needle, as clergy, and we're asking other clergy to join us, this is all hands on deck fight. This is all hands on deck fight, and we'll talk about our next step and what we're going to do next step. But we'll talk a little bit more about this particular issue. Training is important. Everyone that does any job is trained to do that job. Whether you've gone to college, whether you've gone to trade school, whether you've gone to any higher level of school in terms of high school and gone beyond that, if you're going to an apprenticeship program to be a painter, a carpenter, a plumber, whatever, it's training. To be able to do your job effectively, you got to be trained. So to say that officers don't need a facility, firefighters don't need a facility, 911 operators who you would call if you had an emergency don't need a facility to be trained how to do their jobs. See, this is a training center. People want to make it just about police officers, law enforcement officers, but it's about correction officers, it's about firefighters, it's about 911 operators. It's a training center for public safety, So we need to change the narrative and stop this talk about what people are saying and calling it what they call it. We know it to be a training center, and we certainly, Shanan, we certainly want to make sure that we advocate and we push wholeheartedly for a facility on that property that's going to house mentally disturbed people who have created some crime, some misdemeanor crime more than likely, but they're housed in a jail cell with no real kind of what you would call behavior health program to deal with mental health and to deal with this thing, but you're just housing them in there and giving them pills. But you got some people working in these facilities that's going to work with these people to help them with the meds they need and the help they need in their mental state. So that complex we need to be working on and making sure that the money that we have, the money that's in that will go, some of that money will go toward building that kind of facility. And we'll be talking more about that because we need that. We need that. They closed down Milledgeville, and Georgia Regional cannot hold all of them. Go, Shanan.
But not just the place to house, but the training space to train officers. Because Chief Meadows said this, and this is something very dear to my heart, because I have a good friend of mine that works for Autism Speaks. And so I'm learning about autistic children. She has a son whom I just fallen in love with, just a great young brother, a highly functioning autistic child. But Chief Meadows said that he looked at some footage.
He did say that. He did.
For how one of his officers was engaging with an autistic young man. And he said it troubled him. He didn't like it. So he went back and he created a program now where they're working perhaps with Autism Speaks, I don't know, but working to know how to, one, identify a person who is autistic, an autistic person, and then how to engage them and how not to engage them. It's just more important. So of how to engage is how not to engage someone. So they're going through that level of training. And that's the chief just looking at that and saying, I'm going to own, he said, I'm going to own a part of this and say, I don't like this. This is something that's within my willpower. I don't like it and I'm going to change it. And so when we have the kind of government, not government, we have the kind of community, oversight, we can ask questions like, what are you doing in terms of this training? So this facility will help with that. And so it will house, proposed place to house, but as well as to train officers how to deal with the varying levels of people who are, first and foremost, because they're two different things. Mental health is something that all of us have to deal with and maintain. Mental illness many times can be something that causes someone not to be able to function one way or the other. Could cause some kind of paralysis to one's emotional state and movement. It's a completely different thing. And all of it, officers need to be trained. And we as community need to be able to ask questions. Why are you doing that maneuver? Why are you doing that? Like in New York, they said this chokehold. Why this chokehold? We don't like this chokehold. We don't want this chokehold. And that chokehold was not allowed in the city anymore. So this is the kind of oversight. That's what we need to be discussing, Bishop. That's what we need to be talking about instead of all the conversation about whether it should happen or it shouldn't happen. Police are going to have to train somewhere. Did you see the news this week of the fire station, the fire training facility?
And DeKalb County?
The Atlanta fire chief with the tower that they had that's been condemned.
Yeah.
They had to wear hazmat suits to go into the place where Atlanta fire was training. And finally, the brass said, look, we can't train in this facility anymore. And then part of it was condemned. So we need a place. They come, your house burned down, and, and you started with a little fire in the kitchen that you didn't have a fire extinguisher. By the time they get there, the whole house been burned down. And you say, well, why my house burned down? We ain't trained in all that. No, we could have, if you got to us earlier, we know up in that school you got us training in, we know how to put out a kitchen fire. But this 5-alarm fire that you had here, we don't know nothing about that. We need a facility to help us to be able to train. When you need to go get a facility, you done burn my house down. You done let my house burn down because you ain't been trained. Or the same thing with police. Why didn't you all know how to go in a building? And I lost my child. I lost my wife or my husband in that building. Why didn't you all know how to go in there and stop those 3 people with AK-47s that went up in the Bell Tower and just start Southern Bell AT&T building and just start shooting people and killing people? God forbid it from happening. Or in the airport. So why didn't y'all have training? Well, they don't, at that school where we trained at, wasn't but 3-4 rooms in it that we could go in. And we didn't know how to do that, or we didn't have that. No, we want to make sure that our fire, our EMT, our police, that they have the best training that they can have, because their job is to protect and to serve us. You don't want no mediocre service, so they can't have mediocre training.
Well, that's why I keep saying, Shannon, I dealt with the mental health in the facility because it's definitely needed, and no doubt about it. We do need that. They closed down Milledgeville and lose people everywhere. So, and people are incarcerated that need to be in some mental facility. That's why I said that part. But I still stand on that. I think we need to push that. But I do certainly agree that what we are in terms of, and I'm going to point this out. If you're a property owner, you own property, and if you have a fire, and if they can't get there because they don't know how to turn the water on the new water hose, on the new fire truck, or they don't know now with technology how to work it through technology, they make it turn the water on from
God knows another place and turn the water on in that one fire hydrant. We don't know what's going on with technology, but if they're not trained on the new and the greatest way of doing things, because things are different than how it used to be. It's not the same. It's not the same. So what we used to do, we ain't doing no more, because technology has taken over. The internet, let me say it right, the internet has taken over. So we don't know, we got to deal with the latest and the greatest. We have to have the latest and the greatest technology for the people to be able to perform their jobs and keep us safe in our homes and in our community. And on that, as we get ready to close out, just want to just share this with you. Our next step is we want to bring clergy, public safety, and our young people in a room. And let's talk about this anger, this anger to want to pull out a gun and shoot somebody and to kill somebody, to do some bodily harm to somebody. Let's find out what's really going on with them. Let's find out their language. Let us meet them halfway. As Shanan talked about building that bridge. Shannon's younger than me. I'm older than him. But we're bridge builders between his age group, my age group. We're bridge builders. He sees things one way, I see things another way. Sometimes he'll say something to me, and then I'll say, well, maybe I may want to start thinking about it this way. And then sometimes I say something to him, and he said, maybe I want to start thinking about it this way. But that's what it's all about, because we got to get with our young people to find out what's in their head, what's in their mind, and how we can change this narrative of gun violence, and everybody got a gun and want to kill somebody. And I do want to say this to people who always say this, and I've heard this say many, many times. Many times, the governor of the state of Georgia has gotten us with all these guns. What the governor of the state of Georgia did, he came up with a legislation and an idea that everybody could get a gun. But guess what? The governor didn't vote. He didn't pass it in the law. It's the legislators who voted to pass it in the law. And when somebody said, well, why do you call it the demon dome? Because there are evil people down there doing evil things to good people, because there could have been righteous people who were down there who voted not to make that the law. And they could have passed it. And they could have overrode his veto if he would have vetoed their action. Yes. So let's put the blame on what the blame ought to be. Yes, he came up with it, but you got to blame the legislators who voted for it too. They're all guilty for the dilemma that we see ourselves in now. And Shanan, and I think I told you this earlier, my young nephew at a graduation party for my niece, and he walks in with a gun on his side. I said to him, why do you have a gun? He said, I wear a gun everywhere I go. I said, you're looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble. You carry a gun everywhere you go, you are looking for trouble. Eventually trouble is going to find you, because you're looking for it. You're looking for it. So so this is the conversation we got to have with young people. We got to have that conversation. We're going to be doing that, and you'll be hearing more about it. It'll be not only us. It'll be the South Fulton Ministry Alliance. It'll be CBC. It'll be the Atlanta Ministers Alliance. It'll be the Ministers of Reef and the Nation of Islam. And many more. Anybody else want to join in? Because we 10,000 feelers. We have got to build this coalition to help eradicate the ills of our society with our young people, and we can do it by working together. Because working together, it really works. And on that, Shanan, I'm going to say it's been a great program. Won't you all join us and send this out to your Facebook, YouTube family, and let's get in the fight together. Let's get in this battle together. Let's go hand in hand and work together and come out of these silos. And I'm in charge, you in charge. No, it's about not who's in charge. It's about getting the job done. It ain't about getting credit who's doing it. It's about we're doing it, because it's collectively we're doing it, and we're doing it together to save our children. To save our children. And we can do it if we work together and if we are on one accord. And I thank you so much for watching and sharing with us on Straight Talk each and every week. We appreciate your comments, your criticism, and your observation. We do appreciate it. And on that note, I'm going to let Shanan take us on out of here.
Well, I'm going to go on and get us on out of here. I just want to say that on Monday, June the 6th, At Concerned Black Clergy at 11 a.m., we will have a community family dialogue on the Police and Fire Training Center proposed. So we invite you to come out and be with us at Concerned Black Clergy for the community family dialogue about the proposed training facility. If you're for it, if you're against it, if you don't know why, if you're trying to get more information, we want you to be there with us on Monday at 838 Cascade Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30311. That is the Vickers Community Center connected to the Metropolitan Church of God in the Cascade area.
And the time?
Until, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. 11 a.m. We thank you. We want to make sure that you do like us, that you like us, that you subscribe, and that you share. So like us, subscribe, comment, and share. Like us, subscribe.
All right,
comment,
Cynthia. All right, Cynthia.
and share. I hear Miss T in my head. Please do that so you can stay up on what's going on with Straight Talk. And you never know. We have our regularly scheduled meetings, but sometimes we're always over the place somewhere, and we might have some breaking news to bring to you, or someone of import that we run into that we've been trying to have a conversation with. So if you like us, if you subscribe, if you comment and share, then when we go live at any time, it will hit your feed and you'll know what Bishop Fann and Reverend Jones are up to. But I thank you very much for joining with us tonight. We're so grateful that you are faithful watchers of Straight Talk, that you faithfully watch us and support us, and that you talk about us. I walked in my barbershop the other day and my barber said, Straight Talk. And let me know that he'd been looking at us. Well, until next week, this ain't been nothing but
Straight Talk.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922@comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.